Okay, so we're asking dumb SEO questions. Each week we answer the questions asked on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Google+. With us tonight we have Girish Kapoor from Chandigarh, India. Girish is proud to call himself an SEO. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net in the UK. And he's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense forum and also on the Google Plus help community. Micah Fisher-Kirchner is Senior SEO Manager for Zazzle.com. And I read recently that Zazzle have turned over 32 million products so far. Any advance on that number, Micah?
Sorry, I had myself on.
A huge number.
It's a large amount, getting larger every day.
It's a credit to you guys. All right, so our first question tonight comes from Mark Hall, Mark asks a question about backlinks coming from porn sites to his client's site. He says backlinks are coming from porn sites according to Ahrefs, but not in Webmaster Tools or Majestic or SEMrush. What to do, Mark wants to know.
Well, you kind of got to keep in mind it depends. Like the tools will have a different set of data points. So, for example, let's go with the easy one. Webmaster Tools is only a sample set of your data. So when it comes to kind of certain ones that Webmaster Tools is providing you, it's not exactly the one you want to be comparing against. Usually, when it comes to Majestic and Ahrefs, the two of them have a pretty large size. SEMrush, I'd have to double check. I forget how large their database is. I actually don't know offhand. It is a little surprising if the data is quite different between Ahrefs and Majestic. It just may be that for happenstance that Ahrefs found a few set of links that the rest haven't. So if those are actual legitimate links and they're live, you know, in terms of what you can do, it will depend on a couple of factors. How much how many, like as a percentage of your site, are these a lot? Are they very old backlinks? Are they new? Depending on kind of the situation, that will give you a bit of a direction. So if it's not a very large set, it's not a huge deal. If they're fairly new and it's starting to, and let's say it's just starting to really rise in the amount, then you may be hacked. You may be in a situation where, for whatever reason, somehow you've left open certain parts of your site and spammers are taking advantage of it. And so you want to just be careful about that and kind of review of your website. And it just may be just the industry you're in that's going to bound to happen. So you may need to at some point disavow if it's becoming too large of a large amount of backlinks to your site. But it's a small amount. Mostly they're old, and you don't start seeing that data appear in the other tools, then it's something I wouldn't necessarily worry about.
Cool. Would anybody else like to add to Micah's answer? I think that covers it very well anyway. Okay, so our next is from Dinesh Kumar, who wants to know, is it necessary to install Google XML Sitemaps plugin? I guess he's talking about a plugin in WordPress. He goes on to say, we submitted a sitemap to Google Webmaster Tools by completing the Add Site section. Is it necessary to install Google XML Sitemaps plugin? I have submitted to the webmasters by Webmaster Tools by the above method.
Yeah, there's no need to actually use their plugin for that purpose. It's there for your help if you need it, but if you're submitting XML sitemaps in any other method, you're fine. You know, as long as you're providing some form of sitemap and you're letting Google see it, using kind of the add XML sitemap, then you're good.
Yeah, as long as he's not just declaring a sitemap name in Webmaster Tools and not actually creating one.
Oh, yes. You actually need a real XML sitemap in order, and then send it over for them to go through. But you don't need their specific plugin. You can essentially do it, you know, in another way to submit through Webmaster Tools.
Cool. Anybody else? All right, so we've got 26 questions tonight, so let's move along. Eric Bryant asks a question about the knowledge graph for his business name, which has disappeared. He says, I recently verified my Google local page with a postcard. Suddenly, now my knowledge graph for my business name, Gnosis Media Group, has disappeared. It used to show up on Google for brand searches. Can anyone tell me what happened? And he gives his Google Plus page. I won't attempt to read it out. You'll be able to see it on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Google Plus.
That's a good question. So let's see. This is arts. Would be helpful to know what it was previously. So I do wonder whether or not if there was a change in the naming of your company, then that might be why. So for example, I see the URL is Gnosis Arts. The Gnosis Media Group is the name of your Google Plus page. Website's Gnosis Media Group with the domain Gnosis Arts. So I don't know if there's a disconnect with that. Let's see, Gnosis Arts, does it show up there? No. Okay. It's not on the US side. It also just may be that Google's gotten stricter as of recent with what they show for the knowledge graph. But yeah, that is interesting. I'd have to probably go a bit further, but it would be nice to know what you had before to kind of compare and contrast, and what your Google, if you had anything before. If not, that might be an interesting thing to see. But that's about all I can kind of think of right off the top of my head right now.
That sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, Masataki, anything from you?
It is a bit difficult to say because what Google shows in the knowledge graph changes, and criteria and conditions are not known, so it's not necessarily an odd thing that something stops appearing. It just may be that the verified local Google Plus page doesn't have much of traction at the moment. So if you see the Google Plus page, it has 27 followers and slightly above 15,000 views. I don't think that there are any sort of hard and fast criteria about engagement or followers and things like that. But I think it is likely that the more social interactions, more followers a page has, the likelier it is to appear in the knowledge graph.
Yeah. I think there's also the thing that the page that he verified by postcard, he may well have had another page, like a Google brand page or business profile page, which had more information on it than the one that he just verified. Being a brand new page, he may not have filled in all the data, and then Google may have said, or Googlebot may have said, maybe not enough for the knowledge graph. Is that a possibility?
I can only find that local page. It is verified. It has a custom URI, and it's verified in both in terms of as a local page, and the publisher markup is also verified. So in those respects, it's done properly.
Yeah. If you can only find one page, there's also the possibility that he deleted the other one, because it's virtually a duplicate of the one he created. Anyway, let's move on. Eric Bryant, I hope that covers it for you, but if not, please ask us again on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Peter Cornish asks, do nofollowed backlinks impact SEO? He says that my client's site has 12,000 nofollowed backlinks from a large directory site. Is this likely to impact their SEO performance?
No.
That's it. That's all we need. No.
No. No-follow backlinks basically they don't push any link juice, and Googlebot will not crawl through those links. So that won't, be of issue for the most. Yeah. So.
I'm just looking for a quote from John Mueller I just read recently. And actually, this is very interesting, Micah, because it goes to the type of sites, the type of site, like a directory that might not be on the same topic. In other words, a medical directory pointing at a plumbing business, or something like that. But anyway, in a recent, or not so recent post on the Google Webmaster Forum, John Mueller said, just to be completely clear on this, you do not need to disavow links that are from sites on other topics. This tool is really only meant for situations where there are problematic, unnatural, page rank passing links that you cannot have removed. That's really interesting. Well, interesting to me anyway. But then again, sparkly things amuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that too surprising. I mean, it's just basically saying, hey, this is for problematic links. Not if you get a link that's not from a relevant website, that's fine. I mean, that's going to happen. I think if all of your backlinks were from random, non-relevant sites, then that might be a problem. And then it might be an issue. But yeah, I don't see anything kind of off with that statement from him.
All right, and so Peter Cornish, in brief, the answer, unanimous answer is no. They will not, their SEO performance will not be impacted by nofollow links. Here we have a question from Girish Kapoor, who's also sitting in on our panel tonight regarding 301 redirection for WordPress. Girish wants to know, is there any trick for 301 redirection? if I have more than 200 URLs which I want to redirect to new URLs in my WordPress website, how is this carried out without the help of programmers?
So let's see. In the comments itself, let's see, Mike Cook provided a plugin. I'm not familiar with that plugin, so I can't really speak to that. But usually on my end, I just go, if it's, when you say WordPress site, so if it's a WordPress site that is a site that's just being hosted on your own domain, then I go into the back end and basically manually will create, whether it's IIS or Apache, I'll create the redirect code in there. And if there is a way for me to use some form of regex to figure out how I can guesstimate kind of the similar pattern with the 200 URLs, I'll use that so I don't have to manually put in 200 URLs to redirect. That's usually the way that I'm going in and setting in those 301 redirects. But yeah, if it's like a WordPress.com site and you don't have access to it, then take a look and see what plugins might work there, like Mike Cook has.
I see that Girish has put in the chat of this Hangout. If I use a free plugin, then the chance to raise a Trojan horse in my website or the chance to hack the website.
Yeah, that's always. To be fair, that's always an issue with any plugin or WordPress if you don't update. Yeah, I don't disagree about that. That's why usually it's just for me, I would never consider the plugin myself. I would just go into the back end and do it and put in the 301 redirect. It's not too difficult to go find like examples of how to do that. If you know. Once you know kind of whether it's IIS or Apache, you can generally see what the standard structures are and just kind of play with it a little bit. It doesn't hurt, you create some junk URLs and see if the settings you've put in there work, and then you just actually put in the live information that you need.
Yeah, this is something which is not that complicated, but if you didn't want to learn how to program or at least write code into HTXS, Girish, you could go to Fiverr, and somebody on Fiverr would probably write the rules for you, just to copy and paste, and it would cost you $5.
Yeah. You can also check Stack Exchange. They often have stuff like that there already answered for you for free.
Mm-hmm. Other sites like eLamps as well.
Oh,
all right. Are you happy with that answer, Girish?
So.
I'll take that as a resounding yes. Here's another question from Girish. Are press releases good for domain authority? He said, if I posted one press release with my website link on some paid sites or any high-page ranking press release website, is this good for my website's domain authority or not?
So, for the most part, it will be under the no bucket. A lot of the PR sites, a lot of the PR sites recently got hit with Panda. And so that's already telling you a clue that these sites don't have the right quality. Also, Mechats noted, a year or two ago about how that PR releases from the PR site should probably be nofollowed because they are paid type links to them now, in their view. So for the most part. So in terms of that, that's not the path to be going when it comes to for the backlink side. Now, if we shift a little and go kind of directly to the point of domain authority and concept of your website. That's a different concept than it is, say, with PageRank. If you're looking at trying to build out your site and providing people to hear more about it, there's no issue with sending out a lot of press releases. But that's separate from kind of the PageRank side. So, if you're doing press releases and you're getting information picked up about the site, that's good, but that's different than kind of getting the backlinks from them. Anything where it's essentially helping to push your website out there, then in kind of a non-violation of a webmaster guidelines way is a good thing generally.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Micah? Masataki? All right, Girish, I hope you're happy with that. Here's a question from Pablo Caso, I think it is. What would cause a sudden increase in pages blocked from robots? He says, "Hi everyone, a question for you all. What would be the reason, I should say, to a sudden increase in pages blocked from robots, according to Google Webmaster Tools? I have not touched the robots file for a long time, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts."
In the comments, Federico Sasso it would probably usually be my first answer, which is an increase in links pointing to the Robots.txt blocked resources, so basically, which was previously unknown to Google. So, for example, if you had a subdirectory that you completely blocked and you never linked to it on your site, and suddenly you or someone else is linking there, Google might suddenly find it and show. Let's see. Yeah. What else? If you've, I don't know what else would be kind of anything else. URL structures change. If suddenly you're doing redirects, which is kind of altogether kind of the same thing as pointing links to the thing, to blocked areas, but if you've done redirects, that can be kind of a similar issue. If suddenly the redirects are going to a blocked section of your website. But let's see, if you've never changed the Robots.txt in a long time, what else could create an issue for that? I don't think nofollowed would do that. If you have error pages, if suddenly you've got a ton of error pages that's come up, so if you've blocked the error pages from being crawled from Google, that could definitely do that. So that could also be an issue you want to take a look at, is seeing if error pages are suddenly cropping up. So what kind of pages are essentially Google what are the pages Google's highlighting? Take a look at them, see if that's the type of things that are supposed to be blocked, or if they're error pages that suddenly are coming in, and that might be indicative of other issues on the site.
Okay, let's call this answered. But look, one thing I'd say to Pablo, or anybody who's about to post a question on the SEO community on Google+, and that is if you could provide things like a URL to your robots text and some examples, you'll get better answers if you can make them a little bit more specific.
Yeah, specificity is always better than generality.
Thank you, Oracle. Matt Benson asks, when should a link to, or where, I should say, should a link to a contact page be placed? He said, I have a client doing a site redesign and reorganization. They have decided to limit their primary site menu at the top of the site significantly, with the objective of keeping it less cluttered. I noticed that they do not include any link above the fold for their contact page. There is one included on every page in the site footer though. I feel like that is a mistake, both from a usability and an SEO perspective. I'm having a bad night tonight. He goes on to say, I vaguely remember reading somewhere that Google doesn't like that. Does anyone know of any reference that officially suggests where contact info or a link to a contact page should be placed? Do you think having their contact page linked so low on the page will have a negative impact on their search engine results page placement?
So the only thing I could think of where he might have heard about this would be with something like when Panda rolled out. This is the only thing I can think of, because in terms of having, say, the link visible enough as an e-commerce site and having enough contact information, I think that's the only thing where he might have heard about that. But in general, whether it's at the top of the page or at the bottom, that's not a problem. And the situation where I think he's confusing it with Panda is one of many factors that go together to determine whether or not a site is considered to be kind of spammy enough to be dinged by Panda. But I think a lot of that also depends on just kind of your site structure and design. I'll agree about the usability, that it'd be good to have the contact us at the top, but I don't think it's a huge impact when it comes to the SEO side.
Excellent, Matt. Excellent. Okay, so Matt, I think that's the answer you're looking for. I hope so, anyway. Here we have a question from SEO Lucian. He wants to know, do you noindex tag pages in WordPress?
So this is interesting. So basically, the question kind of comes a little bit to, do you also use category pages? And this is one of my pet peeves with blogs, is that there should be either a category structure or there should be a tag structure, not both. And it also depends then, when it comes to answering the question, is are you structuring your tag pages, are you naming your tag pages really appropriately, or are they just a lot of random keyword phrases? If there are a lot of random keyword phrases where it's just generic, then I would noindex them. But there are a lot of sites that do some pretty nice stuff that's out there. So let's, if you're an agency and you're tagging stuff that are guides or of resources, I should say, not guides, but like resources to your case studies or something from the blog, that's not necessarily, that could be an actual thing you want to have tagged, but you have to be very structured with that for it to be valuable. If it's just a variety of terms, then those are things I would just noindex. Heck, I'd probably not even use.
Yep, fair enough. Does anyone want to add to that? I'll take that as a no. Well, we're charging through these tonight. We're up to question 10 on your run list already. Julia Stark has asked us how to tell if a website is suffering from a duplicate content penalty across different domains. He asks, is there a good way to determine if a website is suffering from a duplicate content penalty? More specifically, we use the same copy to describe the same service, albeit on different websites. Is there a way to find out if Google is penalizing us for this?
So a couple things that oftentimes people get confused about. There's no direct kind of duplicate content penalty. There is confusion, so there's that side. There is Panda, which has duplicate content as an issue as a part of it, but there's no specific kind of duplicate content penalty. What often happens is Google is then unsure to determine which page is another. And so it may not rank the proper one, and if it doesn't rank the proper one, then you might not rank as highly. There are exceptions always to that, which is if you're doing this massively across a lot of sites, then Google may actually penalize you for kind of creating a lot of doorways and just a bad structure. But that's not necessarily due to being considered kind of like a duplicate content penalty, usually. So that out of the way, determining that. Taking phrases such as your title tags or parts of the content on your page, putting those in quotes, putting it into Google and seeing if more than one site comes out. If you're able to kind of look to see if that's the case, then that's one way to determine if you've got a duplicate content issue. However, the things to keep in mind is that if you're using if you have international domains, then if you're using hreflang appropriately, then there's some exceptions to that being an issue. Because if you're properly connecting them, then it's not a problem. But if they're just generally different domains, then just putting a lot of the kind of find phrases on the site, put them in quotes, put it on a decent long phrase, seeing if a lot of sites come back of your own. That will help to determine whether or not you need to deal with that. If a lot come back, then you need to tweak the sites. Probably make sure that you're not duplicating the content. Otherwise, you should be fine.
Yep, sounds good to me. All right, our next is another one from Dinesh Kumar. Can average session duration affect ranking? He said Google changes search engine results pages rankings to give their users the best results possible. Now, if the average user visit time on our site is more than others, then it clearly tells Googlebot that our site is better than the others. Can we rank just because of our good visit time? Oh, sorry, I'm misreading that. Could we rank just because of good visit time of users, which shows our site should be on the top? Not necessarily.
Well, no.
Yeah, similar to Edwin on that. It's a no, but they do potentially use things like pogo sticking, which is going back and forth of where users are trying to find that right site to determine whether or not the results are good. So the reasoning kind of for that is things like on-site bounce rate or on-site average visit time is very noisy, is what Google Macuts as well consistently says, because different sites are going to have different features. Could be that getting the answer right to the point that people find what they need is better for one site than, whereas for others it might be more informational, depending on kind of the set of results that are showing up. What Google really cares about is that they're not going back to the search and trying to find another site or doing another search because the results that have been provided didn't help to answer the question.
Yeah. Okay. Dinesh, I hope you like that. Ramya Venkat asks a question about Magento and SEO issues. Ramya says, hi all, I'm basically not much involved in Magento, but I want to know about the SEO issues we face when using this platform. I see that when implementing Magento for a company which has a lot of products, for example, a company which sells flowers, each time they might want to update existing products and add new ones. My question here is, I hear that we need to rewrite / reindex the URLs each time when we update something because of the warning notification like that below. One or more of the indexes are not up to date. Catalog URL rewrites. Click here to go to index management and rebuild required indexes. I want to know how bad or good this is for SEO, since the URL keeps changing each time when all of the product URLs are changed. Could somebody explain? Thanks in advance.
I am not familiar with Magento, so I can't answer that.
Well, I know nothing of Magento either, and the only thing I'd say is that rebuilding the required indexes, that is probably a database issue, and that shouldn't change the URLs. It should preserve the existing URL structure. It's just a matter of rebuilding the indexes so that your site, like when you load a page, it will load faster. I don't think that's going to affect your SEO in any way, shape or form, Ramya. But yes, as far as using Magento, none of us here have. This is a time when we need Andy Wigglesworth. I was talking to him today. I'll tell you somebody else that could help us with that query too would be Lyndon Nah.
That would be great.
I wish he'd come back. Come back, Lyndon. Okay, let's move on from Ramya's question to Peter Cornish's question. Should the disavow file be left untouched? Is it true that the webmaster's disavow file should be left untouched after its submission until a rank recovery is observed? Good luck with that plan. It's been claimed that resubmitting a disavow prior to recovery literally resets its processing time frame, and so it will never be processed by Google. Does anyone have experience with this? I think that statement was made in reference to reconsideration requests.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a reconsideration request, you should wait for the response rather than. I mean, once it's in, you can be assured that Google has got it, and you should wait until it's responded to, because sending again will actually make it that process slower because it puts you to the back of the queue. So I don't think they ever meant to refer to the disavow file.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but the way I would look at the logic is dependent on the situation, because I don't think like modifying it and adding more should reset you, because let's say somebody is, for sake of argument, somebody is doing negative SEO, you want to be consistently disavowing those links the whole time. You don't want to just sit back and let them build up and then they come back and they're looking through and say, oh, this is still an issue. You want to still be on top of it. So I don't see why updating that would send you to the back of the line. As long as you're noting that in your reconsideration of like, hey, we're going to be continually updating this because things outside of our control where people are doing that, please be aware. Yeah, it should be able to handle that, but I don't recall hearing that. But if there's actual specificity, I don't know if Masataki you've heard.
I think the important thing is not to remove things from disavow file unless you're sure that that's legitimate or good, if you like, link.
Yeah.
So you might think, okay, I've submitted this Disavow file, it's run again. So now I'm going to update it and remove ones, the previous ones which now have been ignored. That's not how it works. You have to keep them. So you can keep on adding, but I think there will be problems if you remove things that you still consider to be danger to your site. So I think it's in that sense people might be cagey about editing things, editing the Disavow file. It's about removing, it's not about adding things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Peter Cornish, I think, in my opinion, you can safely edit your Disavow file to your heart's content. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that it didn't matter what you did with it, it wouldn't affect anything anyway. Although there are others that disagree with that thought. Okay. All right. So let me see. Our next question is from the Law Office of Kenneth M. Mullins. PC, what does P.C. stand for, Micah? Oh, well, we'll pass on that.
I'm sure we can do a quick.
It's a robot. Sorry, mate. It's a robots text query. He said, "Hello, hello all. Advice, please. When I do a fetch and render query in Google Webmaster Tools, it shows that the Google spiders are not properly reading my website. I put a screenshot below, which you can see if you're watching. You can see that on the SEO Questions community on Google+. He said, I know that I need to change my robots text settings, but I'm unsure specifically what to do." And he gives a list of his current disallows, which look like fairly standard Wordpress disallows. And I can't see anything wrong there. Anyway, he wants to know what our thoughts are.
By the way, I think PC is a professional corporation. So.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so let's see. So if the issue is within the Robots.txt section, then things that might come to mind as I'm looking at this, so let's see, properly reading. So, what are we defining as reading? Are they just not, seeing your pages quickly enough? Then that's not necessarily a Robots.txt issue. Although I'm not sure if normally you should be disavowing the XML rpc.php page. I'm not sure if that's the XML sitemap. The other site if they're not rendering the website, as in like it doesn't look right, as in not reading it that way, then you may want to take a look at which of the files that you're currently blocking from crawling is creating the issue. So if you've got CSS or the JavaScript being blocked, that might be a reason why it's not looking like it's reading properly. If you have content under the WP-content section, that may be a reason why. It depends on your site URL structure. Are there sections of the site where it's just not being read because you're completely blocking it out? That's all the assumption that it's on the Robots.txt end. Now, bear in mind, you may also be putting noindex, nofollow in the code of the specific pages that you're trying to get them to read. So you need to take a look at that. So it may be an issue outside of your Robots.txt area. So you want to look at the source code of the pages that you want them to read and see if you have a noindex. Could also be canonical tags. that might be redirecting about 2 pages that are being blocked. So take a look at those as well and see if that helps to answer some of your issues there.
Yes, and I must admit I had a closer look at his Robots.txt. He's blocking his themes. Well, if he's blocking his themes, the page is not going to display. It's not going to be rendered correctly by Googlebot, will it?
Well, so the thing is that's possible, but that you'll know that's using the query string, and I don't know if that's usually with WordPress. That's under a different. That's under a subdirectory than it is as a parameter. So that's why I didn't really. Yeah, I mean it's possible for that one actually. Yeah, you may want to look there too. But it's weird that it's a query parameter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we have a question from Manikandan Surya Murthy, who wants to know how to attract more visitors. Essentially, he says, "Hi, I am Mandrikandan. I have posted my more technically related articles on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, G+, etc. I did receive more views, but I did not get any visits from those views to my post. What can I do to get more visitors to my website? Please share your ideas and comments."
Technical and social just don't go very well together. I mean, there's just a lot of things that you want to consider. I think what's that? Paul Lika provided some ideas. Asking yourself kind of things like are you posting them at the right time of day? Are you posting articles that are of interest to those that follow you? And maybe they're following you for different reasons, and these articles are kind of side views to them. It may be that are you paying, or have you considered paying for promoting of your posts? With Facebook, things have kind of they've reduced the amount of the organic side there. So if you really want to be reaching more people, a lot of ways is you got to pay for that. Let's see, are you kind of making the snippets interesting to users? Are you using images that catch people's eyes? Are you using a title or description that makes them want to click through, or is it going to, how that looks really does matter, just like you would in an SEO kind of search result layout. So those are things you need to kind of as well look at, and also consider kind of as well the trends and what's going on at the time. If you're, are your posts related to a current occasion, that will be helpful, that people are thinking about that and will probably more likely click through by doing this, by making it relevant to the time at hand.
Yeah. Masataki, would you like to add anything to this?
It's a very broad question, isn't it? It's really hard to answer. I think one thing is that there may be an argument for making sure what your primary aim is in using social media. If you wish to establish yourself as the go-to person and authority in the technical related articles that you've written, then that's, in a sense, that's what matters, and it's not really about getting people on your site. But if your primary aim is to get people onto your site, then that would require, I think, different behavior and habit on social media. But then again, that's really broad, so it's very difficult to say.
Yeah. The thing that I wish that he had given us an example of an article he placed on Google Plus. But to my mind, the best way to get people travelling to your site, I mean, it's not enough to publish your entire article on Google Plus and include a link at the bottom to your site. Because if they've already seen the article, what's the point of them to go to your site? For me, I would share, say, the first third of a, say, 600 word article on the Google Plus post with a link to read more underneath. If people are taken with your the first part of your article, they may well go to your website to read the rest. Does that sound reasonable, guys? I'll take that as an emphatic yes. Ritu Ahuja asked a question regarding Viewport, or at least the size of the pixel size of the viewing screen. And this is a question that we really need Andy Wigglesworth for. Come back, Andy. Ritu says, hi everyone. I have inserted a table in one of my pages in Blogger with 4 columns. It's in Blogger. Okay. When I access it from a laptop or an iPad, it looks fine. But when I access it from my Samsung Android phone, I can only see 3 columns, not the last one. That's the most important column of my table. Please suggest a solution to this, and if you know the potential reason for the same. Any thoughts, guys?
Well, Dave Elliott, I think, solved the issue. He replied in the community that, in the quote, make sure you're using percentages rather than pixels for the column width. So,
right.
So I suppose the tables were, the columns were specified in pixels, and the total of that exceeded the screen width.
Okay. All right, with you, I'm sure that you're glad to see Dave Elliott's answer, and the answer was that you were using a fixed width table rather than using percentages, and therefore it wasn't elastic. Niraj Kumar asks, is rel equals me necessary? I plan to make a profile page with all the details of my family, education, career, and other engagements. So I will add my social links to this page. I have heard that rel equals me should be placed in my social buttons to tell search engines that it's me. Please advise.
I'm not 100% sure what the question is.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm slightly confused by the question.
Well, the question is that he wants to know whether he should use rel equals me in his social buttons. But I think that would be superfluous in a social button, because obviously Googlebot and other robots would understand that the social button is you. I mean, the button is going to you.
Yeah, I thought there's sort of 2 parts to it. The first one is he wants to create a page, presumably on his website, not on a social media platform, but on his website, and then link to that with rel equals me. But then the second bit is where I get confused, about the buttons. So is he going to place buttons on each and every page on his website with rel equals me? I'm just not 100% sure, what he's trying to achieve.
Fair enough. Well, Niraj, I hope we've said enough. If not, of course, as you know, you can always ask again on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Pawan Power asks us, is it okay to add a direct link back to your website on social media posts, specifically on Google+, Twitter and Facebook? And does that bring any value?
So generally the links on most social posts are either nofollowed or not allowed to be crawled by search engines. So for the most part, it's not of direct, mostly not of direct value.
Google Plus posts, are there any of them still have any follow links? Or are they no follow?
Maybe some of the older historical ones, but I don't believe it's any of the recent ones.
Okay. All right, Pawan, I hope that's the answer you're seeking. Chris Lee Vella asks, or says, after 7 months of work, I am not indexed in Google. Well, bad luck, Chris. I've been waiting for 7 years. He says, hi all, I was referred to this community by a member here. Well, it might be she. Chris, could be either. I'm having an SEO problem with one of my blogs, and I think it is serious. After 7 months of work, as you can see, my work is not getting indexed in Google. Now, I've asked for some advice, and the advice that I've been given was set the preferred URL on Webmaster Tools and also add a new sitemap. I've done both, and so far, more pages were indexed, but not all. Is this a waiting game? Does anybody have a fix for this? Has anybody experienced this before? I would appreciate any help that you can give me. Many thanks.
Sorry, I'm reading through the comments right now.
While you're doing that, Micah, I'll fill in for you and just say to Chris Lee Vella that it's not necessarily a waiting game, but certainly after 7 months of work, I'd be expecting to have your pages indexed if they're useful pages. It depends. Googlebot hates thin content, and if some of the pages don't have much content on them, you shouldn't be cross if Googlebot decides not to index it. How are you going, Micah? Do you want some more time to read?
Well, I mean, from what it looks like, depending on kind of the type of pages he wants, if it's only articles versus, he has those category tags and certain things that are being no indexed by plugins, that could be kind of the reason for why it's not as high as he'd like it to be. He's submitted some sitemaps now, so that has helped, it looks like. It just depends on kind of the kinds of URLs he's wanting to have in the index and what Google wants to have in the index. It's fairly generic without kind of being able to go through it, because it may just be that some of the URLs are being blocked and can't be linked to. It may be that Google is not going to go through the site, so it may be that a set of URLs are so deep within a site that Google's not currently going to crawl it and index it, so it's going to take a long time until at some point it decides to. So you may need to resurface certain ones at a higher level. And since it's only like 100, you could pretty much find out which ones aren't, and then kind of do an audit of, are they being linked to, is it at all kind of crawlable, for him to kind of determine what's going on there.
Yeah, but look, just one thing. No, actually you didn't mention that. Fair enough. Look, Chris Lee Valera, I hope that that's enough for you, and that does lead to you seeing more of your work in indexed. But please ask it again on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Vishal Dar asks for ways to increase Alexa rank.
I mean,
is that still going?
It's used sometimes by bloggers for the most part to highlight your authority, but beyond that, you know, it's not an area that is of concern for SEO.
Exactly. One thing about Alexa is that it draws its data from the Alexa toolbar, and so what happens is that a webmaster or a webmaster's office will load the Alexa toolbar and they work on the site, and all of a sudden their Alexa rank goes up. In fact, I think one of the content sites, and I'm not sure which one it was now, but one of the content sites had large offices of people, all with the Alexa toolbar, to push the rate up for God knows what reason, or goodness knows what reason, I should say. Anyway, Vishal Dar, the answer to your question is, don't worry about Alexa rank. You cannot spend an Alexa rank. Ritu Ahuja has yet another question for us. Internal links, no data available. Ritu says, hi again. I have one query about Webmaster Tools. When I access internal links from search traffic, it says no data available. I have linked most of my posts internally, but my blog is new. I started it on the 27th of April. Does it make any difference? Or is there any other reason for not having data available? Please advise.
And the quick thing is just because Ritu just noted it's very new, Google needs a little bit of time to collect and report on the data. That said, looks like it's been 2 months. Yeah, you want to like the mention of using Screaming Frog is good. May want to consider seeing if the data is being properly if you're allowing your site to be crawled or allowing your pages to be indexed. And so that's something to consider there, because you may be blocking it, and so Google may not just be able to see anything.
Yep, fair enough. All right. Next question is from Devon Peterson. What is the quickest way to locate an inbound link? I want to view the specific content of how the link is used by the referring site. Google Webmaster Tools doesn't really allow this to be easy. Open Site Explorer helps a bit, but sometimes I still can't find the link on the page. Who has a simple trick that I can use to find the link? I have downloaded the link data, put it in a spreadsheet, and put some macros into the spreadsheet, and use that to make myself more efficient. In fact, let me get a URL. I'll add this URL to this question later. But on the dumbseoquestions.com site, if you look at the right-hand menu, you'll see a section called How-Tos, and there is also a question summary page available at the top of the page using a link disavow tool. If you go to that article, which is on SEOquestions.com, you'll see what am I saying? You'll see, I don't know, the formulae to add to your Excel spreadsheet to make your life easier. Anyway, I'll put that link with this question, and as I say, it's fairly easy to find. If you just go to the front page of SEOquestions.com, look for the subcategory How-Tos, and it's the only one there. So far, we've only had time to build one How-To. I thought we were going to build hundreds. Anyway, Devon, I hope that's an answer for you. I see that you also have another question, comparing click-through rates with different author pictures. Has anyone tried comparing click-through rates with different author pictures to see if it matters what you look like or how your pic looks? I want to be able to test, but it takes me too long to get a big enough sample size to try to draw accurate conclusions. Maybe someone with a better web presence has done this. And of course, all this was rendered moot by John Mueller's answer, or John Mueller's statements that Google was dropping photos in search, the authorship photo. Tim Capper regards this as a great advantage, not having his photo. Anyway, all right. So Edwin Young says, oh, right. Okay. That's why nobody came, is it, Edwin?
Yeah. There weren't any invitations. Rob asked for an invitation. Tim asked for an invitation.
Oh, dear. Thanks,
and we
Google.
were saved by Masataka.
Thank you, Google.
I got an invitation, but that's because I pinged Jim for that.
It was a silent one for me.
It was silent, actually. Yeah, I had to actually open up the tab and see.
Yeah, it was very silent. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just when they like last week, the invitations went out. People appeared from everywhere, and so they just got it right. And now there's someone's messed with it and screwed it up again. Thank you, Google. Okay, our next question is from Girish Kapoor. It's a fetch as Google temporarily unreachable error. Google's Webmaster Tools fetch as section The crawler is sending a temporarily unreachable error. What does this mean? My client's keyword is currently ranked on Google on the second page, but it's showing temporarily unreachable. Is there any serious concern here or not? If yes, then what's the solution? And if not, then how to remove this message from Google Webmaster Tools?
So as long as the temporary... Oh, go ahead.
I think that is a message from your site, a 500 error. It can happen temporarily. Try to fetch it again.
Yeah, as long as the temporary issue doesn't become a permanent or long-serving issue. Google's basically telling you, hey, you know, we've noticed an issue with the site, which means the page might not be loading. You're serving what's called some type of a 500 error. So you want to make sure that your site is actually live. That's often what it means. Maybe your site's getting hit by too many people or bots at once. So really, you just want to check to say, are the URLs working now? If they're working and you're looking at it, and you go through a number of the URLs, then it just means there was a temporary blip, and Google should get back to normal in the next day or two. You should see the number of URLs unreachable drop. If not, then you have a lot of issues elsewhere, and then you need to look at kind of what's going on with the site in more details.
Okay, just talking to Alistair Lattimore in the chat there, Micah. I said that he had to stay away tonight, but I said Micah is panting.
Wasn't too bad this week. Not too bad.
Okay. All right, Girish, I hope that covers it for you, mate. Here's one from Harish Makwana. How to improve conversion rate in e-commerce sites. Michael Fisher-Kirchner might be able to answer this one. He says, hi, dear, all of you. My question is how to improve the conversion rate in an e-commerce site. Our site has many visitors coming from Google Organic and paid search, and as well as social media. But our conversion rate is very poor. So how should we improve conversion? Thanks in advance.
Oh, this is so broad. There's so many things. Copy, the products you're showing, the buttons, the layout of the site, the shopping cart, how is it structured? Are you making it easy? Are you requiring things that people don't want to fill in? Is your settings properly even set up? So maybe you're getting higher conversion rate than what it is. Where is the traffic coming in from? Is it mostly hitting your informational article pages? That's going to affect your conversion rate numbers because it's informational searches. It's a whole gamut of lots of different things, and I definitely strongly suggest going through a lot of well-known kind of conversion rate optimization sites because there's a lot to work on. That's in that area, but without any of the specifics, you know, it's hard to diagnose. So those are just generic areas. Look into those. Look at some various CRO sites, and go at it.
Cool. All right. Okay. Next question from John Pitcher. Are citations a key ranking factor in local SEO? A Moz survey of SEOs quoted the number of citations as a key ranking factor in local SEO. Getting directory listings from town/county directories and niche directories strike me as being fine, but there are not many of them. I've seen a list of 50 UK free directories, most of which look reasonable quality, and many, not all, have competitors listed there. Well, getting my site listed in these UK directories, I'm based in the UK, will that be helpful, or is Google at some stage likely to penalise these links in the same way that foreign directory entries are now penalised? Obviously, I would use the company name as anchor text. Good question.
Doing the top 50 as directories is going to cause you problems. Well, it depends how diverse your link profile is. But yeah, that's not going to benefit you. You probably won't get a single click from any of them. I would look at local area directories, and I would look at business niche specific directories. You'll probably be able to dig up 3 or 4, but those will be relevant, and you'll probably get a couple of visits from them. But you know, as for the mass 50, I would just leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree with that. Probably better off to pick just those that are directly related to your business. Trade directories and so on. Yeah, anyway, anybody else on this? All right, John Pitcher, I hope that covers it for you. Here's oh, we've done it again. We have finished all of our questions, all the questions asked on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Google Plus have been answered yet again.
Tim got to answer a question in just under the wire.
What's that? I missed that.
Oh, I said Tim got to answer a question in just under the wire.
I've been trying to get in for 3 fucking hours.
And that's why you pinged Jim.
All right. Yes, we've covered all the questions, and now we move on to our weekly news roundup. Each week, as things arise, we add items of interest to the SEO news community. And now we're about to discuss the, I think it's 6 items which popped up this week. The first one is from David Kuchar, and David wants to know if this ever materialised. He's talking about schema on websites. He said we do structured markup in all of our sites, but in some we added in non-displayed elements because we don't care to show it, but it's needed for completeness. Completeness, is that a word? He said WAO, which I'll look up later and find out what it means. Google is like one of those whitewater primary teachers, always instilled us very afraid. David, you're beating me tonight. Anyway, he provides a link. Google starts, and the topic of the link is Google starts penalising sites for rich snippet spam. What can you tell us about rich snippet spam, guys?
Say that 3 times fast. So that's an old article, actually. That's like back in February. I'm not sure if did we ever get to discuss it here? That part I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that it took so long for Google to be kind of a bit more public about the fact that people were spamming it in. So if you do it incorrectly, they're going to be, taking down your snippets, and that's going to be kind of your snippet penalty. But yeah, that part I'm just not entirely surprised by, in terms of them finally doing that.
I think it's, I mean, rich snippets were like all of those things. We jumped in earlier and did it on our events category, on a travel website that we have, and got a huge bounce from it. But over time, as more and more people started to use it, Google had more and more to choose from, and we came back to the field very fast. So, yeah, I don't think it's as useful. The other thing is that by using rich snippets, we're just making it easy for Google to scrape our sites, provide the answers without having to come to our sites. Anyway, now David Kuchar posts rarely in our SEO news community, so by way of encouragement for him to post some more, let's really give him a comprehensive answer. Surely we can do better than Micah and me. Or is that Micah and I?
That's better.
Well, I think it depends on what you do for the completeness. If you're just adding in reviews, made-up reviews to complete the review rich snippets, then that's probably not that good. But if you are adding your local business address, or then yeah, I could see. I don't think that is a problem.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Here's one that I posted.
For example, you have your business logo, and to set a rich snippet, you basically use spam with the attribute content with your business name in the side of it. I think that's fine practice, but if you're doing other stuff that might not be viewed as okay. Is that a fair comment or not?
I'm impressed. All right. Next article is one that I posted, and I said, "Is Barry Schwartz the hardest working journalist in search?" He covers a lot of ground. I think this week he's probably done double what I estimated, but I thought he was doing about 20 articles a week, and I think this week has been a huge week for him. Or maybe me saying 20 spurred him on a bit. But I like his no-nonsense style. What do you guys think?
He's definitely one of the ones up there for someone who works really hard. I'm not, I don't want to. I'm not sure who works harder, but he's definitely on the ball usually when it comes to new things that are coming out. So.
I think if there were no Barry Schwartz, we'd have to invent one.
Yeah. Somebody else would have to try to fill in those shoes.
I wish that Tim Capper had stopped talking. I can't shut him up. All right. Next is one posted by Micah about Associated Press's new robot writers, and wondering what Google will think. apparently these articles are written by robots, and although some people say they're a little bit dry, but hard to discern as not written by a human. Someone as old as me finds that mind-boggling. That you know, I'm still getting over the invention of electricity. Yeah, how about it, guys? I mean, Google has invented algorithms to combat spun articles. Will they have any defences against robots writing articles? Say someone like, I don't know, the Bank of America with unlimited funds could build unlimited AI robots to churn out gallons of content. I mean, what would that do to the search results? All of this bland, useless content, which is really just repetitive, repeating something else that's been said.
As to opposed to the bland, repetitive content that's out there now.
Does anyone have a URL? Does anyone have a URL to one of these articles?
I think that if you go into it, it will show you one. But if not, let's see. Because there have been some, particularly within the past, Forbes is known to have used that. Let's see.
Was that the New York Times at sports events?
I don't know if New York Times. That's a good question. I don't recall about.
Some company used it for sport events.
I know Forbes does for various stock stuff. So if you were to look, so there's that. If you just do a quick search, you can find what some of those articles are. Generally, the way I see the tech going is essentially they use those as a baseline, and then you get some people to fill in some additional stuff to kind of have a hybrid between machine built and human built in order to pump out a lot of articles faster. I think for now, even with the robot articles on its own, it just comes down to if nobody else is out there with the information, it may be robot written, but because nobody else has anything or updated about it, it's kind of that fresh area. And so as long as they're quickly getting it out and then quickly either updating or hiding it afterwards when other people have more in-depth information, they probably are okay. But it just depends on how they're going to be leveraging this information, in my view. Or not information, how they're leveraging the technology. I was just more surprised. People were kind of, this got back into the news again. It's like, oh my god, it's like, this is not new. It's just the Associated Press is now using it. Like, I was more surprised about that.
Yeah, I would figure that Bloomberg would use this instead of the Associated Press. Bloomberg has all those terminals out there for the financial markets. So I was surprised by Associated Press announcing this. Maybe Bloomberg is using it already. But...
Yeah. It's interesting because essentially you get robots judging robots. And if it's sophisticated enough, it's or the way I was putting it was machine learning versus machine learning, because that's kind of what they are. It's going to be a battle as it ramps up for the big dogs with chugging out a lot of content that way.
Okay. We covered this one? I'll take that as a yes. Here's an article posted by Edwin Yonk about the Google My Business feedback program. Testers wanted, from Peggy Kay, who does a great job on the Google Plus Help community. And there is a link which can be seen on the SEO News community if you want to assist the Google My Business user experience team. They're looking for business owners and consultants to participate in their feedback program. Comments? What about you, Tim? Are you going to jump in and offer to help?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think I will. Where's the link? Can't find it, bugger. Oh, it's in the SEO News, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a few issues with it today, so... I've lost one of my clients, his business maps with the migration. He's lost 47 properties.
And did you lose the client over it?
No, of course not. That's fucking Google's fault, isn't it?
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the real reason that Google Plus authorship photos are gone. Very good article. I posted it. It was posted as insight from Larry Kim. Did anybody read this article? What he was saying in the article was that click-throughs are a zero-sum game, in that if people are clicking on the authorship photo and therefore away from the search page, something must suffer, and of course part of what would suffer would be the AdWords ads. I don't know if that's the real reason, but it's certainly a plausible explanation. Anybody?
Well, we can only speculate. But I think my take, and this is my speculation, is that the take-up rate, as it were, of Google Plus wasn't sufficiently high. So I do think that having profile picture, avatar, I think that did influence people's behavior. And perhaps it was unfairly, that might not be the right word, but it was advantageous for those who are using authorship, who have established authorship, which I think is still a small minority of people, of all the people who create things on the net. So it may have been it may have biased people's behavior to an extent that Google thought its search results weren't being that good.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it distorted the balance of the results, if that makes sense, because it favored the did establish authorship, and I think that sort of, that being a small minority, it may have had a disproportionate influence on people's behavior in terms of click-through ratings and so forth. So,
yeah. Okay, and the lucky last item on our news roundup, and of course marking the end of our Hangouts for yet another week, is one which was a link to let Google know about your negative SEO. Is this, I think, up to the user experience program. Hello, Rob Mars.
Yeah, definitely. Well, where's the link? Oh, the SEO news, is it? Yeah.
We can hear you, Rob. I'll mute you just in case you didn't want us to hear that conversation. Well, this is like the spam report. I think Google also has the Tim Capper payday loans report.
It still hasn't got any better. After 2, I don't think that. I don't think they hired the third intern. To be honest with you, Jim, I think they hired him. You know, made a big song and dance about releasing Payday Loans 3, and I don't know. The bloke had second thoughts and haven't found another intern to hire.
So Payday Loans 3, in your estimation, means 3 employees manually editing results. Is that it? That's
right, mate. But actually, it's only 2 because nothing's changed since 3.
We've got a few holidays coming up. We should actually test that.
No, that's why they hired the 2, because after my first bitch about, you know, spam overtaking everything on the holidays, they hired another intern and they launched Payday Loans 2. So one covers, you know, days off and holidays. So effectively, they're still only doing top line spam. They're not doing any long tail spam queries or buy queries or things like that. So eventually we'll get to like Payday Loan update 105, and then we might see some results.
Okay, so getting back to Google's negative SEO report form, do you think that this is a change from Google? I mean, for 5 odd years they've been callous about the webmasters that were getting punished by negative SEO. They didn't really care, and yet they created the issue. Is this a change of heart? Have they finally developed a conscience and they're actually going to do something about negative SEO? What do you think?
Depends where that form goes, Jim. If it goes to another intern, seriously, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see, because, you know, the rhetoric that's come out of these guys over negative SEO and links and things like that, there's definitely something going on. Penguin hasn't been updated this year. There's definitely something going on that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the interesting thing. It's what's taken them. What are they working on that's taking so long for them to update Penguin? Whether it's an issue that is preventing them from doing so, or they've got something big on their hands that they're basically tweaking and trying to get right. So that's kind of 2 ways of looking at it.
But there's nothing in that article about a new tool, or?
Yes, I know. I was just typing that into the chat there, Edwin.
Oh
yeah,
no, I mean,
or
yeah, but yeah, what Mike and I are saying, there's definitely something going on. What, we don't know. I suppose we'll only find out when they re-roll. But the one thing that's a bit of a pain and a bit of a worry is, I mean, I don't know what or how many or what percentage of people got slapped last November with an algorithmic penalty, but
Yeah,
none of them will have had any chance to get that right until there's a refresh, or depending on how long they, before they roll the next one out, they might just put a time limit on the thing and just let them go if they don't refresh. I don't know. But yeah, those people.
They've never mentioned someone they've left stuff there, and sometimes they just don't care. So it may be a possibility that and I don't think so with payment, but it's not like they're not known for putting a penalty and then just leaving the penalty. That whole like block this site in the search results, they never at least publicly said and undid that. So when they took that feature away, the sites were permanently blocked essentially. Not blocked, but harmed, I should say. So it may be, but they do. I mean, they do have kind of a system in place, at least for the manual side, that after a year it's kind of refreshed. So if it doesn't come out in October, by October, it should be interesting to see if that algo part would refresh and those sites come back because they haven't updated it.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, imagine like having Panda not update for a year. Oh
my God.
What I like, what Barry Schwartz is doing here is basically if people talk about negative SEO, they get all those people saying there is no negative SEO. And what Barry Schwartz did here is say, well, it's a serious issue. Let's talk about it. Maybe that would help Google to see, like, we need to be more open to this discussion about negative SEO.
Maybe, but I think we've just got to keep bringing the issue up.
I
think so too. And Barry Schwartz is doing a great job here for that.
Well, and they did mention that they were working on doing more integrations in handling negative SEO at SMX Advanced. So they directly sideways mentioned that is something that they are, taking into consideration more now too. So things that they're trying to work into certain, certain algorithmic updates. So.
Yeah, well, I think to webmasters, it would be more fair to say there is negative SEO. Let's see what we can do, instead of, well, there's probably no negative SEO. And if you have a question, go to the webmaster forums, and there you just get slammed if you say, well, this is negative SEO, what should I do about it? And they say, well, you probably did it by yourself, and it's all your fault. And I think that the discussion has to move beyond that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the forums have jumped into a guilty until proven innocent model, which is most of the machine learning anyway, but with Penguin, so that's just a disconnect in them understanding the issues within their forum than it is them not providing kind of like, hey, if you're seeing this, come to us and we'll try to figure out how we can help.
Yeah, but it is also a disconnect from Google, because negative SEO is real, and they are warning webmasters for when their sites are hacked. But when there is a negative SEO, they don't provide any useful information on their guidelines on how to solve that?
Well, because I think in their view, to be fair, I think in their view it's if they've in their view that with their kind of algorithm, it's such that in probably most of the negative SEO situations, if you've been at negative SEO, you've probably had in the past some bad backlinks. It's not, most of the time you're not going to spend the money, in theory, we're not going to spend the money to basically nuke a site unless that site already had at least some junk in there before. So they're looking to say, hey, can I push you over the edge? Versus, hey, can I knock you out completely because with no bad stuff in there in the past. And so Google could look at it and basically like, well, you had junk, you should have cleaned it up.
Well, what frequently happens is a small site with not that many links to it. A competitor can come in and just smash the site to the ground, and those are just small local sites that get penalized and have to spend pretty large amounts to get rid of it and to invest and.
Yeah, and
I reckon it's small local businesses that are the ones that are going to do this. Do you know what I mean? It's not the big boys. Well, I mean, I suppose one or two might, go for it. But, they've got boards of directors and all sorts and regulations and internals and, it's going to be very hard for any company to kind of agree to go for that. It is. It's going to be a little war zone with the little small locals who've only got 50 links to their site. 20 of those are from directories anyway. A couple of local citations, and all you need is to, spend a $5 every month and throw them some Zenu links off flipping, off Fiverr.com. They'll drop like.
I maintain that it's the big brands doing it. I mean, I know of one big brand in Australia that has been doing it for years. And yes, they do have boards of directors and rules in place, but for argument's sake, they have a link buying account. So what does the board care which site they're buying the links for?
Well, the board's not going to go into those details. It's going to be the SEO team who outsources it, doesn't really mention it. The board's not going to look at that depth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And of course, it really only affects the top 10 sites, or at least really the 1, 2, 3 on the page. If a small local business is lucky enough to jag a 1, 2, 3 position, they're the ones that are going to be targeted, because the big brand will be 4 or 5, and instead of spending a lot of effort to get past the 1, 2, 3 who may have a natural affinity for that spot, easiest thing to do is to negative SEO them off the list, and they just automatically rise. Cheaper than doing it any other way. Look, I think the key to this is a conscience. Google has to develop a conscience. They have to look at what's being done through circumstances, or at least conditions that they have created, and say, look, we've got a moral responsibility to rectify this. Because otherwise, they're just rewarding criminals. It doesn't matter if it's a big brand or the bloke down the road. This behaviour is criminal.
No, it's not criminal. Perfectly how they want to define and leverage their own algorithm. And it's unethical, you could say, but it's not anywhere near criminal levels.
Why is it not criminal? I mean, it's only that it hasn't been tested in court yet. I mean, if I go to your store, Micah, just say Zazzle had a bricks and mortar store. If I go to your store and I put up sign up at the front of the door in front of your opening hours and put closed until further notice. And if I get some graffiti and put swear words all over your your window front, how is that any different from a big brand buying millions of porn links and pointing them at your site, or damaging your reputation in say the Better Business Bureau and saying that you're out of business or whatever, or you're about to go bankrupt, and damaging confidence in your business? How is that any different? Certainly, graffiti and defrauding the public is criminal. Why is it not criminal to buy links and deliberately damage another person's rankings?
Because in terms of what you're trying to compare it against, you're not directly targeting them. It's Google's choice as a matter to impact it within their system. You're not directly damaging the competitor. Now, if you're going to something like the BBB or something and putting things and changing stuff where it's saying they're closed, that's a different matter. That part, okay, yeah, I would see that. But if it's just you're sending links over and telling the porn guys down the street, hey, go advertise over here, on this block in this, or in the mall probably would be a better way to put it, because it is advertising for the site, but the advertising and how Google defines it is then harming them, not the Google is saying, well, that type of advertising is harmful. That's Google's choice. You're basically buying for your competitor and saying, hey, this is useful. You could basically, that's one way you can kind of justify it. It's Google's choice. Google could ignore it, and then that's just basically free advertising, right? It's Google's own system and their choice of defining that. And so you're not...
Yeah. Look at the case of a credit card keyword. If a financial institution is #1 or an affiliate is #1 for a good credit card keyword, that's worth earnings of, say, between 10K and 100K a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can blast that site out of that position, they will lose that money. We're
Yes.
talking, millions of dollars a month.
Yep.
How is that not criminal behaviour to deprive that business of their rightful earnings?
What I'm saying is, it's not. So bear in mind, I'm thinking from like how a lawyer potentially could get around this. It's not that they're depriving; it's they're providing advertising to them. That's Google's choice of determining whether that's good or bad advertising. Yeah, you can have, if you're paying for riffraffs to stand in front to advertise in a mall, and the mall is allowing the riffraffs to stay there and saying, hey, you're not telling them to move away. That's the mall's rules and regulations. And so where's the law going to come down on? The law is going to say, well, that's Google's, most likely they're going to say it's, that's the mall's rules. You agree to this, and that, if you want to, Google says this is what you should do to clean it up. The mall's like, we can't handle all of this, so you just tell us that to move them, and there you go. So that's probably how it's going to come down from a law standpoint, and that's why I don't think it's going to be considered to be criminal.
Well, I think it depends. When there's only one mall, then you don't have a choice, do you? You have to go to the mall, and you are under those regulations. And I think that with regard to negative SEO, it can be criminal. the court has to decide if that is criminal, and I don't think we know. I think for me personal, it is criminal. But there's probably not a law in any country that says negative SEO is criminal or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's just take a look and see if you can find a comparable offline situation. That's what I'm doing, and it's making sure you matched up exactly. Like, yeah, I think Jim, you were a little bit off on your analogy, but if you were to say, all right, the mall says this is what this as businesses are allowed and not allowed to do, and the mall provides ways of, you need to do these cleanups. If you've basically agreed to that, does that mean, is the law going to basically blame Google or the competitor stores, or are they just going to say, hey, that's not our area? So, you agreed to the rules.
Yeah, maybe it's more like a guerrilla marketing where you find the edge, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
But still the main issue is that it is a Google issue or search engine issue in general.
Yeah, and for the most part, Google doesn't think it's a large amount. They think for the most part, you've had issues in the past, so if you're not...
Yeah, but hang on, you keep saying this, you've had issues in the past. What's to stop somebody being in the past, like doing negative SEO in the past, and continuing to do negative SEO a year later? That doesn't mean that I mean, websites can be completely innocent, and I stand before you as a completely innocent party, like ShopSafe. The ShopSafe group of websites have been targeted by negative SEO since 2007, and I can vouch that we have never ever traded a link, we've never ever bought a link, we've never ever done anything wrong. In fact, people used to write to us and beg to trade links. We didn't have anything to do with them. We've always done things exactly by the book. All of our links were organically grown, except for the negative SEO links, which started dropping on us in the millions from 2007. So, any talk of us having a shady link past is it's clearly wrong. It's not right. Sure, they can say that, but the fact is we didn't do it.
Yeah, and I'm just saying from the 99 point, what maybe they view as 99.x% of the situations, and they feel comfortable, or 90, whatever the percentage they feel, they generally feel right now that it's comfortable with the issues that are there. That negative SEO is not as bad as it is, because whenever people have come to them, either they've had issues in the past or it's some other type of issue, and so they're generally ignoring, or they don't think it's as large of a problem, at least publicly, as they've stated. So
Now, they're saying that they feel comfortable. That's another word for saying that they just don't care.
I don't think that's the case. I think that there is an issue with how to deal with backlinks, and just like you would with Panda, you set a set percentage of, okay, I mean, machine learning in some ways is basically taking viewpoints of humans and develop an algorithm out of that and saying, well, for the most part, if you match this type of profile, you're going to get dinged, and if there are false positives, we will try to minimize that to what we think is an acceptable level. Now, what that level can be. No, no thing is perfect, even with the old algorithms. They're always trying to improve upon it. But it's not that they don't care. It's they're looking at, they have a situation where people are very much destroying kind of Google's results, and things getting worse and worse on their side, in their opinion. And they are unable to figure out ways to determine on a page level basis that to clean this up. When if they were just ignored, it's taking too long. And so they're putting in a system in place to say, all right, if this becomes a pattern, we're going to ding you and stop this from being a reoccurring situation. I mean, take a look at what they noted back. Let's go back to JCPenney's. They were saying how JCPenney's was doing this repeatedly every holiday season, which was basically a pattern. Now, whether or not JCPenney's was doing it on purpose or not is another story. But basically, it's that thing where they shove the links, rank up, take them down, and then they'd rank really well for the time period they care about, and then the rest of the year, doesn't matter. We'll go back to the white hat profile. And so they're trying to prevent those situations from repeatedly occurring, and basically make it that much harder. And if their view is that if, on the whole, the results look better, even if it means there are some amounts of false positives which they can fix later on and continue to tweak, that's a net benefit. And yes, lots of smaller sites might get dinged, but in aggregate, they're looking at it and saying, okay, is this better than it was in the past? And it's not that they don't care, it's a view that it's a different mindset. It's why I note it's innocent before proven guilty, where the guilty get away, or is it guilty until proven innocent, such that certain innocent people get dinged. But in their view, that is a better system for them, because they felt too many guilty were getting away, and so they had to figure out where you put the bar.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, Bing doesn't have any negative SEO because Bing doesn't have unlimited thresholds.
Yeah.
It would be easy to fix.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the system either. I mean, I don't like a guilty until proven innocent type model. But they feel that it's a necessary. I'd call it necessary. Probably call it this, but I guess they feel it's some type of necessary evil to be able to do that. I just would like to know what they set as their false positives when they roll these things out, and get an understanding of what's acceptable versus not. Because there's no way in heck these types of algorithms are perfect.
Well, what gets me is, I mean, Bing provides equivalent and in some cases better results than Google. I'm not suggesting that Bing is going to take over Google, but I think habits are way too ingrained for that. But I mean, Bing provides good results without having to penalise people. Why do Google feel that they have the right to penalise people? I mean, we were looking at Barry Schwartz in the green room. We were looking at Barry Schwartz's article about Jason Kalkanis and the way that Google set out to target Mahalo and put them out of business. Well, decimated their business. Or are they actually still running? I haven't seen them, so maybe they have closed. Is it still running or not?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I don't. I have no idea either.
Google's definitely much more in the public spotlight for those things than something like Bing. It's not to say that, and it could just be that Bing's got a team that has figured something out better than Google, and Google just has decided to move over to a different style. The whole machine learning so that it learns as it goes versus having to manually handle it.
Mm.
And
Google is not necessarily all algorithmically driven. I mean, look at Tim Capper's Payday Loans 3.
Yeah, well.
Not at this stage, Edwin. All right. Have we done this topic to death? Okay. Look, I see that we still have viewers. I'm going to terminate our broadcast unless you guys have anything else to add. No. Well, look. For those viewers, we'll go into Green Room now and close down the public broadcast. So I will put a link to this Hangout in the SEO Questions community on Google+, and you're more than welcome to come and join us. We'll be pleased to have you visit us. Okay, for those of you still watching, and for Mikey Fisher-Kirshner, who answered 25 questions tonight. And we also thank the KGB for sending Tim Capper along to answer one of them. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and just remind you that you watching us makes what we do worthwhile, and we thank you for it. We'll be back at the same time next week.